Hey there guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about some weapons that should be upgraded in the future for the global server. That way you can preemptively run these in Itemworld and get them ready just in case maybe you have nothing to run in Itemworld. It's currently open for another week on global. This can give you some ideas of things to, run in advance before it gets upgraded. So on this list is the currently known weapons that should be getting upgrades in the future, either through a Chronicle battle, through an event, through a Vision World, etc. This is up to the current time in JP as of June 2nd, 2022. Now, standard disclaimer that Global sometimes skips upgrades or delays them or changes them. So some of these may or may not be coming down the road, but assuming we do follow the JP schedule, we should be getting all these upgrades, hopefully when their events roll around. Now, I'm only focusing on upgrades. There are other things being upgraded in the future, like, armor, accessories, etc. But because you can't run those in Itemworld, I'm not really going over this. This is just for the weapons that are currently available. I should mention that as well. There are more weapons coming. For example, Seymour gets an STMR. That's pretty good, but that's not currently available on Global, so that information wouldn't help you. This is so you can run stuff in Itemworld. Now, on the left, I have highlighted the weapons in yellow if the upgrade is from a limited time source. Meaning, if you don't upgrade this item during the event while it's running, it's just permanently missed. Kind of like Sephiroth's Katana. If you missed it, you missed it. So like Crocodine's STMR, that, the free unit we just got today on Global, you can get him to EX2 already, you get his STMR. Well, when the Dragon Quest Vision World comes out, which should be within a week or two, you can upgrade his STMR axe during the Vision World, and this is the upgraded stats. It becomes 200 attack, 239 defense, a two-handed axe. It gives physical tanks 500 defense and 100 double hand, and it gives Crocodine himself 250 more defense and 100% HP. So for all these weapons, most of these are designed for a specific unit or a series of units, and the unit-exclusive passives I've put in the right side, while the universal passives I've put in this column right here. So I'll briefly go over these, step by step, just, and I'll tell you maybe it's worth it, maybe it isn't. So Envy Furion's STMR, the two-handed bow, it gets a Chronicle upgrade, and it is a permanent upgrade. It becomes 200 attack, it keeps the usual passives it already has, and then it gives Furion himself 1000 attack power and 50 LB damage. Overall, not really too special. Bows aren't super meta. It is still a good item, not seeing a ton of use. But for Furion himself, it obviously becomes his best in slot. So if you're using Furion, really good. Otherwise, not super big deal. The 5-star Balthier's TMR, I think the gun is called Arcturus. Currently, it's a one-handed gun, but after the Balthier Chronicle comes out, it upgrades to a two-handed gun with 220 attack, 100 beast killer, 100 double hand. Now that is a universal passive, so anyone using this gun will get this. And then for Balthier himself, it's an extra 750 attack and 50 LB damage. And of course, that also applies to the new Neovision's Balthier in the future. Now, Gabranth on the JP server had a 5-star version as well. I put this in red because Global completely skipped the unit entirely. He's very, very old at this point. Well, his one-handed sword got a Chronicle upgrade, and it was designed for the Neovision's Gabranth, because the Neovision's Gabranth got unit upgrades, got crowns, etc. Global usually skips unit upgrades, but I'm putting it here for completion's sake. Maybe they slide in the 5-star unit on that Final Fantasy XII event with Balthier. But anyway, it became a 170 attack, 220 defense, one-handed sword. If you're dual wielding it with a dagger, it gives 50% defense. And then it gives Gabranth only 1000 more defense, 100% defense, and it gives him a 300% extra modifier for his finishing skills to go along with his crown upgrades, which made him like a sort of tank DPS. Now this one is, obviously you can't run that on Global because, like I said, we completely skipped the unit. It's not available, but for completion's sake, I'm including it. Now, from the Final Fantasy X Vision World, there were some more upgrades. The Star Player Titus sword, which is already at +3 on global, it goes to +4. It just gets slightly more stats. That's really all it is. You've probably already enhanced this if you own this, but it does get slightly better in the future. Lulu's TMR, the Onion Knight rod, currently it's a one-handed rod. During this Vision World, you can upgrade it to a two-handed rod. It becomes 230 magic. You know, two-handed rod means it does get magical variance. And then it gets, it already has 20% MP and auto faith. And then for the new Neo Visions Lulu, as well as the 5-star if you wanted to use her, it'll give her 750 magic and 50% LB damage. Same thing for Waka's STMR. That's already available on global. It gets another upgrade to get higher stats. It becomes 210 attack power, two-handed thrower. Some Esper stats, fill rate, 30 evade, 100 LB damage, and 100 true double hand spirit. Yes, that is true double hand spirit, not attack power. This is really designed for the new upcoming Neo Visions Titus. It's basically his best in slot for his shift form. So if you do plan to pull for Neo Visions Titus, you're going to be using this quite often. The 5-star Kimahri's STMR is upgraded in the Vision World as well. This is designed to be used for the new Neo Visions Kimahri. Now, the 5-star Kimahri was a limited time unit. If you weren't there for his original version, like years ago, it does come back during that event. But if you happen to have his original version, the Spirit Spear, the Spirit Lance, I believe it's called, you can enhance it now, and it does become two-handed in the future, you know, because two-handed is the meta. All these upgrades basically become two-handed because no one uses one-handers anymore. It becomes a two-handed spear with 215 attack, 185 magic, 150 jump, and then for Kimahri only, 500 attack and magic. During the Final Fantasy X2 event, the X2 Yuna and the X2 Pain, their STMRs get upgraded. The 5-star Yuna's one-handed gun actually stays one-handed for some weird reason, but it does become 225 attack power. And then Pain's STMR becomes two-handed. And of course, these upgrades are optional. You know, you're not forced to make it two-handed. There's a recipe to swap back and forth. You can make it two-handed, or you can make it back to a one-hander if you want to for some reason. You can always swap it back and forth at will. But it has the option to become a two-handed 185 attack power with the old passives, and it gets Machine Killer on it. Then for the Final Fantasy IX event, and again, these are all limited time upgrades. These are not permanent chronicles. So if you miss, for example, the Final Fantasy IX event, you're not going to be able to upgrade Kuja or Zidane's STMR. So make sure you're playing these events if you're wanting to get these upgrades. Anyway, during the Final Fantasy IX event, Kuja's 5-star STMR, the Brumal Cores, gets an option to go two-handed for variance. It becomes 230 magic. It still has the amplify that it always did. And then for Kuja himself, it gives 500 magic and 50 LB damage. And then Zidane's, Rakish Thief Zidane's STMR, the 5-star Zidane, his Chronicled Dagger gets an option to go two-handed. So a two-handed dagger, which is, you know, really good. The only previous option was Kiros's STMR, and now you can get a free, if you own Zidane's STMR, a free upgrade. 230 attack power. The true dual wield on it becomes true double hand for obvious reasons, and then Zidane himself still gets, you know, some more passives. And then from the Final Fantasy IV event, now finally, these two upgrades are permanent Chronicle battles. These are not limited time upgrades. The Paladin Cecil's STMR, the Mythgraven Sword, it remains one-handed for tanking. It becomes 230 Spirit, 50% Spirit, and then for Cecil himself, an extra 1,000 flat Spirit and 3,000 HP. And then for the Dark Cecil, the TMR, Deathbringer, it gets an option to go two-handed with 220 attack power. It's obviously naturally dark element. It has 75 human killer and 1,000 attack power for Cecil specifically. Now, that's just a quick overview list of the upcoming weapons that can be upgraded further from what they're currently available. There was actually a few more. There were some Legend of Mana weapon upgrades, but because Legend of Mana seemed to be completely skipped, so like Randy's sword, Hero's sword, Hawkeye's daggers, all that got upgrades as well, but because we skipped Legend of Mana, I'm not bothering to include those, but all the mana stuff got upgraded as well. Anyhow, again, this was only the weapons. There are a lot more upgrades, like, for example, Golbez's STMR, Riku's TMR accessory. Like, all that kind of stuff got upgraded too, but it's not weapons. You can't item world it, so you just get those when they come. I will also post a link to a screenshot of this little chart I made if you want to print it out or something, or save it for yourself for reference. There you go. But I figured I'd just give you guys a heads up, so maybe you have something interesting to run during Item World this week. Okay, see you next time.